don't have the change you're asking for, but change is going to come your way.
Welcome to Understanding the Unhoused. My name is Joshua. Through a series of interviews with individuals who are experiencing homelessness, my intention with this podcast is to increase compassion and empathy for the unhoused. When people see an unhoused individual, they can feel fear, anger, apathy, sometimes all three. My hope is after hearing their stories, hearing what it's like for them on a day-to-day basis, it will make it clearer that these are just people. People who, through a combination of bad luck, bad choices, and, let's be honest, a broken system, have found themselves without a roof over their heads. Okay, enough ado. My girlfriend Wendy and I were out one night giving water out to folks that were struggling on the streets of San Francisco. We ran into Michael. He was a very cordial and conversational man, and I asked if he'd be willing to tell his story, which involves gentrification, eviction, and the struggles of privacy in this modern age. Michael agreed to meet with me a few days later, and we actually conducted the interview directly across the street from the apartment where he lived for 13 years before a Subway sandwich shop and gentrification removed him and led him into homelessness. This interview was conducted outside on the streets of San Francisco, so there's quite a bit of background noise. I should say Michael only had a small bag and a cart with a tiny dog in it. That was the sum total of his possessions. His story is sad, far too common in cities across the country these days, but also full of hope. Please enjoy the interview. Michael, thank you very much for agreeing to meet up with me, being out here. First, can you tell me, how long have you been unhoused?
Since October 11th, 2023.
Damn. And can you talk about the circumstances that led you to be unhoused?
Of course. Gentrification of the building during the pandemic. 2010 I moved out here. Was homeless for a couple months. Was able to pass the residential selection criteria in order to be qualified for one of the units in that building.
Okay.
Because it's a HUD building, and they had 30% of your income, they had a housing choice voucher and all of those good things. And I was a resident for 13 years.
Wow.
So from 2010 to 2023. And paid rent on time, didn't have a balance, wasn't destroying anything. I treated it like it was my best friend. And during the pandemic, the Subway franchise that's attached to the property in the same lot gentrified it during the pandemic and started to bootleg the property, which consisted of disabling the ADA button, disabling the fire alarm system, basically trying to trick the SF assessor into thinking that there is no building here.
Wait. So they messed with stuff?
Yeah.
To make it seem like there was not a building there?
They're trying to make the subway look like it's just the subway and not 8 floors above it.
Okay.
So, but in order to do that, they had to disable the call box and do all of these modifications to the building. And when I asked for permits for these modifications, because when you do something at the first floor, that compromises every floor above it. And so disabling stuff and taking apart things, I was just like concerned about my safety, you know? And so asking for a permit that they couldn't produce, they realized that after looking at my lease that I had a legal obligation to ask and, you know, and they couldn't bring it, so they accused me of being a nuisance.
Wow.
And the nuisance part was that because when the unlawful detainer was put on my door, after that it was the behavior from the staff and the behavior from other residents changed. So in order for me to come outside, I would have to leave my unit, go into their hallway, go into their elevator, lobby, and all of that just to leave the building. And every angle, there was always someone there, because on camera you don't have audio, you just have visual, and so they were manipulating that image of me and the narrative and where I was going, and for example, one of the complaints on the unlawful detainer was I closed the laundry room door after I did my clothes, and it doesn't lock. So I guess the narrative was after I left, all of a sudden somebody who has an ADA of disability or whatever was coming downstairs to do their laundry, which is odd because like if they have a disability, they should have an IHS worker,
somebody to help them or in unit.
But if you were curious as to like how they were gentrifying it, because there was a lot of security things in place to prevent it, and one was the call box, that you had to use the call box in order to enter the building and call the resident above. They would let you in. But when the gentrifying happened, the property manager started hiring her family, and they would be at the front desk, and whenever somebody would come, because my neighbors were passing away from during the pandemic because they were older.
Wow. Okay.
And their units became vacant. And so the family members would just kind of like wait in the subway for somebody to come in, and they would let them in, and then that's how they would gain access. But it was just like one of the most frustrating parts was trying to point out or identify this behavior on their part, because I didn't have access to the camera system. I couldn't do any of the. I couldn't incentivize any of the other residents to complain or whatever. And every Thursday, or last Thursday of every month, we would have a community meeting. Okay. And during this community meeting, we would be able to bring up issues or any kind of concerns, and they would be addressed. And one community meeting that I was kind of running late for, after getting the lawful detainer, walking into it, I was listening to the property manager asking other residents if they were having any issues, or kind of like coaxing them into giving her information because she didn't have any. And so during the 8-7 months of the court proceedings, I kind of was put into an emotional duress kind of situation, because every time I would want to leave the building, I would have to use the emergency exit. And because when the cameras, when you leave the building, you can see whatever, but in the stairwells there's no cameras, so you can't see when I'm leaving or whatever. Yeah. And they can only see me when I'm coming, because in order for me to, because there's only one way in and 3 ways out. Okay. Which are the 2 doors right there, and that's the double doors. Okay. Yeah, it was a surreal moment, because knowing that during my displacement, having like all of the resources and all of the opportunity to be housed or whatever, it just like was taken away because I was asking questions. Because I mean, like, if you're a career criminal and you have all of these things going on, and somebody's asking too many questions that you can't really answer, then it's just like, we got to get rid of them. And wow, lo and behold, it was like having this multi-family building by HUD attached to this single-family building, and then having the Filipino mom and pop that owns the Subway franchise in between. It turned into this whole neighborhood that wasn't reflecting the HUD image, like the urban kind of like criteria. But again, the gentrifying happened because nobody could pass the residential selection criteria that was required. So they set it in a way so there would be a diverse community. It wouldn't be just one kind of, what I'm saying, it's having the ability to manipulate, situations, or even your job description, to weaponize it in a manner that would put people of color out of their home. Wow. And so now it's like, I've been through the whole emotional kind of like turbulence of it, because the 13 consecutive years that I was there, and I treated it like my home, like my best friend, and took care of it, was just like taken away because of I like to identify as a refugee from San Francisco, because somebody from a different country came into this one and displaced me from my home. Oh, okay. Does that kind of make? Yeah. little bit of sense. I don't identify as a transient or homeless, but a refugee.
A refugee. That makes sense. So, did you have any legal proceedings that you could have done
During the unlawful detainer process, I missed a lot of steps because I didn't go to law school, and they had corporate lawyers.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they submitted my lease agreement missing page 10, and I missed that, and I tried to. I did the appeal, and I tried to point that out, but I couldn't follow through with the opening brief, all of the time sensitive that came with the appeal process.
Right.
And it was really, it was really challenging because being displaced and then trying to, follow through with that. But knowing that in that moment, I could have filed for dismissal during the court proceedings based off of the incomplete complaint. But I missed that, so now I was, it kind of like, there was a lot of people like against me. It was just me against a lot of people, like people at the front desk, people who live there, and because when you have the ability to say, hey, I'll waive your rent for 6 months if you make this, or you follow through, or just give us this, what we need you to like verbally confirm this or whatever, and coach you along with it.
Right.
And sitting there in the courtroom listening to my neighbor complain that she had 3 clients and for IHS or whatever. She has 3 clients that she needs to do laundry for, and going downstairs and seeing that the laundry drawer was closed was so much of a hassle for her that she couldn't. And it was just like,
Since that happened, where have you been staying? How have you been getting through?
So after I was displaced, I was forced to go into the shelter, or try to get back into the shelter system. And also identifying during the shelter, because it's the whole navigation center and the whole like thought that, we have shelters that will help you get housed and all of this. All we need is your kidney, your lung, your your first last name, driver's license number, your birth certificate, all of these information, so we can create this story for you on this, whatever. And since Mayor London Breed hired career criminals to operate this system, and it's identified as one system, and giving my information to these career criminals, and in the hopes that I was going to get services, like fell short, because right after I gave it to them, the demeanor changed. Like there was no kind of support, there was nothing. And when even asking for a hygiene kit, I would get like an attitude back, like, we don't give out hygiene kits and this, that, and the other. And then I'm looking around at the whole thing, and I'm like, so if you're a program director working at a homeless shelter, driving an $80,000 car, and somebody comes in asking for a hygiene kit, and you don't provide that, then it's like, what have you told the city, like, of all the funds that you've been receiving? Like, where is it going?
Where is it going? And where's the accountability for it?
And you can't really have that conversation with them, but you can identify it, because if they're walking, they'll walk around the shelter like dressed in their finest, like gator shoes, all nice and name brand, and just kind of like, I don't know. If you ever have a chance, take a tour of your local homeless shelter and see where your taxes are going, because when you see somebody outside and doing whatever and not like receiving services or not trying to get services, like by the HSH wait list, there's like 500-800 people on there.
Yeah,
and
easily.
It takes about like at least a month and a half just to get a shelter bed. Like when you go into shelter on 5th and Bryant, you can see a lot of empty bunk beds, because they're bunk beds. So there's like only like 1 or 2 persons per every other.
On purpose, or
I
guess you wouldn't know. Yeah,
I assume that they're claiming that they have a full house, but not necessarily have a full house.
Wow. So you couldn't get into a shelter then?
I mean, I could, but getting into a shelter became problematic, because I wouldn't feel safe in the shelter.
Yeah, I mean, that's the overwhelming thing I hear.
It's like, even being in just trying to receive services, like it's like a constant battle with someone who already thinks that they're smarter than you. So trying to sit there, and while they're try to find a way to like manipulate their way out of giving you services, but just get your information, possibly sell it to a third party. Can't really confirm that, because I don't have access to one system.
Sure.
So I don't know but it started with Heart, and then it went to Soma Rise, and then it went to MSC South, and then I went to the Navigation Center way out there on Evans Street, and each and every time it was always the same thing. Like, I didn't feel like I was in a shelter and getting services, or even though I would show up every day, like trying to ask, and they would give me this whole, well, someone, we have to wait, like, and like, just complaint or excuse after excuse. I couldn't use my phone to, get the conversations or confirmation of like what was going on, because they wouldn't give me anything in writing, and I wasn't able to produce any kind of because it would be against the law to try to record somebody without their knowledge. And so just realizing that these career criminals now have access to my information, and I'm out here on the streets trying to still wondering like what's going to go on, and even being outside, like experiencing the engagement with these professional bullies, I like to call them, private security companies.
Okay.
But that walk around the city with safety team on the back or whatever.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are those guys helpful at all?
No, but they've only been hired to do one thing. It's to instigate a conflict. So they would have justification of calling the police, and then the police will show up and have justification of asking you for your information and getting it, and then doing whatever with it. I was detained and given an infraction because my dog was off leash.
Okay.
And the officer asked for my name, and I gave it to him, and then he went on his radio, and over the entire channel, just blah 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 blah. And in my head, I was just like, I was kind of in shock, because they usually go to the car and get on the computer and do that instead of doing it.
So where everyone can hear it.
These professional bullies that show up and be like, "Oh, what's this? You can't be here. You got to relocate. You got to da 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 da," and just try and argue and get the conflict going on, so anybody walking by would notice that, oh, there's a security guard trying to ask this homeless person to leave, and they're being refused.
Difficult. Yeah.
And I also just take a deep breath, and I realize when they walk up, I pretend like I have sign language, like I'm deaf.
Okay.
Because they think I'm deaf, so I can hear exactly what they're saying. And
so they say whatever they want.
And it's real vulgar, it's really disrespectful, it's really concerning, because even if I was a legit ADA deaf and needed to communicate, and they weren't able to do that, or even in writing, it would just be a whole mess, because everywhere I go, it doesn't matter where, it could be the public sidewalk or an open public space, and the moment I sit down or whatever, somebody already approached me like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Like, I'm in the public space, they're sitting down enjoying the space like everybody else.
Have you had any experience with the Urban Alchemy folks?
Yes, but not to the extent of getting services from them, because realizing that what they do is just they walk around and follow people, and they use their their radios, but on that radio feed, like on that radio communication, none of it's professional. Another level of professional bullyism.
Okay.
Because they actually have reach, because they're as far, if you ever walk by the UC Law area, and there's somebody standing right there, and then they're on the corner, and then the other corner, and they're just standing there. But not only that, it's just really aggressive with their approach. I wasn't convinced that going to Urban Alchemy for anything, I would, it would just be another version of that.
Right.
And
okay.
I was reading in the newspaper, and allegedly 118 credit cards were issued to Urban Alchemy and the employees there, and
for what?
That's
the question, isn't
right?
It? Yeah.
Because it's
wow.
all of those nonprofit, donated funds that were just given to this entity, they just, do whatever they want with it. And again, driving an $80,000 car,
right.
It just doesn't add up. So I can only assume it was used unlawfully, but that's
wow, man. So what is your day-to-day like? How do you get by out here?
So I have to keep moving, because in the public space I don't have the right to privacy. So
of course,
anybody can just be picking up their phone. And right now I'm having an issue with Waymo, driving around taking photos. Like every time you hear Waymo go, it's taking a photo of you without your consent. And wherever I go, it's like either somebody's on their phone or whatever. It comes to the point to where it's like, in a sense, maddening. But I have to keep moving because if I sit down or if I get too comfortable, I can be detained for unlawful camping or illegal camping, which is a citation that's been popped up. But that again is only to get our information, to see who we are. It's not really because I have no camping gear. My food isn't tied to a tree. Like I have no bird watching book.
I was gonna say you have a bag and a carrier, and that's all.
And I literally would just be sitting there, enjoying the space. But if I occupy space too long, people get nervous and I'll get approached by an officer, and before they even say, "Hi, I'm Officer blah 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 with badge number blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
It would just be like, "Hey, we got to call a complaint." And I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, well, you probably get calls every day for the most dumbest and minuscule things. Somebody saw a UFO, but knowing that I wasn't on the phone with dispatch, so I can't really, they'd be like, okay, you got a call, you got whatever, but I know I don't have any warrants. I'm not afraid of any engagement with law enforcement because I'm always cordial. Follow any and all directives, but having no possible way of just having a little bit of privacy, or going into a restroom, being able to use the restroom without being harassed by either security, going to the Salesforce Transit Center and being followed throughout the transit center by the security there. And it also is concerning because walking into the transit center, I'm like, Mr. Benioff, how are you a billionaire and your transit center is ADA non-compliant? And having 35 bays, 35 possible, and there's only 7 buses that go through it. But if you just kind of like look around at the environment, there's no, or even in the city, like there's no actual designated space for anyone who is unhoused to actually come get services or whatever, and without having to provide, your first, last name and social security number in order to get services. You know what I mean? It's like there's no kind of like outreach. I know they have HART or whatever that like drives around and asks, but those are the career criminals who are given a second chance out of prison. It really just puts into perspective. It's like now we have actual people who have did their time or whatever, got paid whatever, but now they're given jobs that give them access to information, and there's no oversight. There's no kind of like, oh, let's confirm, and like this person who works for her is actually, oh, I'm a case manager, or I do this and I do that. And it's like all you're walking around with a lanyard. There's no really like any credentials, like last name, picture. So I can't really point out who did what or did, you know what I mean? So whenever I hear that, then I know Urban Alchemy's closed and I leave. So I just like avoid Urban Alchemy altogether because there's more of them than there is me.
They're everywhere out here.
Even though they have their, vest on or whatever, they operate with people who are in plain clothes. So even though they're standing there, they're able to communicate with somebody who's a citizen. But it's like I can confirm it because whenever I see someone or I look at someone and they look at me and they give me this look like they know who I am and I've never met them in my life, then I know it's like, okay. So whenever I have to go around the city, I have to double back. I have to confirm that I'm not being followed by going in a direction I had no intention on going. Going up like that's how I had to deal with Waymo. Like going into that moment where I had fear that Waymo was following me. So I went out to the Presidio, and in the Presidio they have this one location where it's an old Victorian house, and the driveway is like a U shape. And Waymo can only go past and see like this much by their cameras. And so they started coming up into the driveway. And so after the fourth Waymo came up into the driveway and did that, I kind of like reacted and slashed the tires, causing the the park police to be dispatched and giving me a federal court date in a sense for alleged vandalism.
Okay.
But I mean, I believe it was justified. I was, by this autonomous driver, but
Right.
knowing that all of these entities, Urban Alchemy, or even case managers that work from Glide, that are able to, open the door for people and just let them in, and it's just like there's only one person, and I may have all this knowledge and all of this experience and all of these engagements, but it's like I can't really do anything with it. Like I can go down to town hall, I can stomp, and I can do my protest, but then I'll just become a martyr, and that's not fun. And then I'll be targeted because everybody walking by scene or anybody who's engaging with that criminal behavior will then know who I am and what happened. And then,
So what advice would you give to someone who's be unhoused or thinks they're about to be unhoused?
to collect as much documentation as possible on the situation, as far as the time frame, who you spoke to, what time. Write it down if you can, like record it on your phone or get it on your phone, or write it down somewhere and like keep it safe, because you have those time and dates and who said what, who I spoke to, then you can actually have a reference of like the outline of your situation. Now, if it's just like, if it's like similar to mine, where I was basically targeted by a community that was trying to gentrify a building, give them like no ammunition.
Ammunition, right.
So
how have people been to you out here since you've been?
there have been a lot of angels, and then there's also been a lot of assholes. I've had food offered to me that's been tampered with. I've had literally fecal, kind of like emergencies that just came out of nowhere.
Wow.
And knowing that when someone offers me food or whatever, I ask them to take a bite of it, so I can confirm that it's not
smart.
tampered with.
Yeah.
And then if anybody offers me money, I'll only take coins. Like I'll only take pennies, nickels, dimes, because I've been given fraudulent money.
Oh, wow.
So me trying to go into a store or whatever with fraudulent, boom. So
Another
it's like
thing.
a setup.
Yeah.
So when everybody says, "Oh, here," it's like $5. I'm like, "No, I'm okay, thank you." Only pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters.
So how do you get by then?
Going to some of the tourist areas.
Okay.
A lot of them throw out a lot of good food.
Yeah.
Full meals.
I can imagine.
Also, just doing like little things here and there. Like whenever I find myself trying to occupy space, I'll look around, see if there's any trash, any garbage, pick it up first, get it all cleaned up, whatever, before I sat down. So if anybody driving by would look and see all this garbage, or also, I guess in a sense, entertaining. Like, it's the most wonderful time of the year, with overpriced items and everyone's excited to get the same deal.
That was very unexpected. I love
Just some of the
Thank you.
engagements of like having the ability to actually.
You have a beautiful voice, by the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
To do a different perspective of somebody or give a different perspective to people who might see a homeless person, but actually, engage in a manner that would, create a laugh or a smile, and then them going forward, or, they would have that in their. So whenever there's those moments where the professional bullies approach, and then everybody watching will see them harassing me, but it's nothing ideal. Like, I don't enjoy, being a martyr, as I call it.
Yeah. So what's next?
Well, trying to retain my documents, like my birth certificate, my ID, all of that, because it's been stolen in my displacement. Trying to relocate is very difficult. I've learned that being in a warm climate during, like, it's about to get cold. It's about to start raining or whatever. So going down south or going to like Central Valley or a different location where I could try and Sorry, I don't have the change you're asking. I don't have the change you're asking for, but change is going to come your way.
That's nice. I like it.
So just like trying to, relocate or even find a safe place to rest for a little bit. It's always has to be under one of these cameras. In the plain eye view of everyone else.
Yeah.
Because if anything happens to me, God forbid, but I want it to be either on camera. I don't want to be they say out of sight, out of mind. And if anything happens to me when I'm sleeping in that bush,
There's no accountability for that either. Yeah.
But,
what have you been shown, or what have you seen while out here that has given you joy, that has given you some hope?
the ability to be in a sense clairvoyant and being able to read the room or the environment to the point to where I can just have mentally just cope with my just displacement, because I miss my space. I miss my 300 square feet of a studio apartment. I miss coming and going as I please.
Yeah.
And it just but in those moments where I'm just trying to not lose my sanity, because for my service animal, without her, I probably wouldn't be in jail right now. I probably, from all the vandalism that I wanted to do, all the retaliation that I wanted to produce with them. But just reminding myself that the first thing that comes to mind is not always the best thing that comes to mind. Try and be aware of your surroundings, not sleep in the same place every night. Every night you have to go to a different location.
Oof, that's rough.
When they are expecting you to be here, all of their people in position to harass you and whatever. I guess they call them the ambassadors or the Union Square or downtown or whatever, that just kind of go around cleaning up or doing power wash. I try to avoid them, because automatically if I'm standing around whatever, they'll stop and be like, "Are you okay? What are you doing? You can't be here. You have to." And it's just that uncomfortable. I'm already in an uncomfortable situation.
How did you deal with the rain today? Today's the first time in rain in San Francisco in months.
So we found a few shelters, or a few awnings or whatever,
right.
And we also went to the laundromat, sat there for a little bit, but also my feet are soaked. I'm not kidding you. My feet are still wet.
Oh wow.
You see that? Because but dealing with the rain, I don't have a poncho, I don't have a sweater or an umbrella, and also having no ability to access a shower here and there. I have to go out to where the Golden Gate Bridge is. They have a bathroom out there, and there's just this spigot for anybody who's coming from the ocean.
The ocean, right? Yeah,
but it's cold water,
beach shower.
So I have to take cold showers.
Yeah.
Which sometimes are okay, but taking a cold shower and then trying to dry off and just shivering to the point where it's really uncomfortable. But noticing that only showers that are available are at the shelters that are guarded by these professional bullies. Again, but that's my situation.
Hi again. Thanks for listening. If you know of any unhoused individuals that would like to be interviewed, or you would like to submit an interview yourself, please reach out to us through the website, understandingtheunhoused.org. Click on the contact button, send us a quick message. We'll get back to you as soon as we can and get things moving. Also, while on the site, if you're feeling generous, please click on the donate button. There is a very low overhead for this podcast, but there are costs involved. Thanks again for listening. I hope after hearing these stories, you will have a little more compassion, a little more empathy, and a better understanding of the unhoused.